something that on my deathbed, 100 years from now, am I going to look back and feel regret if I didn't finish? Yes, I would definitely feel regret.
And then the individual pieces, because a lot of them involve moving outside of our comfort zone. If the pieces are small enough, then an individual incremental step isn't so large that it triggers our fear response or triggers our sense of discomfort.
You just kind of have this goal lingering in the background for weeks, months, years, and it's not getting accomplished. That does not do well for your stress and for your confidence.
Solve the problem of the blank page. You can contrast what you actually want versus what it put, and it actually ends up helping you to clarify what you do want. It's kind of like if someone asks you what you want to eat, and it's like, I'm up for anything. And it's like, how about pizza? And they're like, not pizza.
So this is our first week of actual planning. Somehow we talked ourselves into doing an actual 12-week year while we were just talking about a book that we loved. How'd the week go for you?
The week was good. I mean, this time set aside and this space ended up serving as a really powerful accountability target and magnet and kind of amplifier. I found myself putting time on the calendar. I found myself actually fulfilling on those commitments, and actually implementing a bunch of the advice and the tips that we talked about last time. So I'm excited to get into that. How about you? How did your week go?
It was good. I do have a really good starting place to where this weekend I'll probably have the plan that I'm willing to commit to. Right now I have the plan in the form of ideas and lists and charts and a lot of help from AI. We'll get into that, but the way that AI has changed this 12-week year versus 12-week years of 3 or 4 years prior is just total game changer. Last time we were talking about what challenges we had to overcome from last time and, all of these basically excuses to overcome. And I was thinking about it like there's never a perfect time. It's always something in the way. And this week I was thinking about editing last week's, right? And then I was thinking there's a few changes in the baby's schedule in terms of sleeping and eating and stuff. So it's like around the clock stuff. And I'm like, it would happen this week. And then also today's tax day. And so I'm trying to get my business expenses together from last year, and have everything in. And it's like, there will always be something in the way. I'm not going to ask for more time or change the plan as I go along. So I made 2 separate lists. I started working on the 12-week year, and then I used a really big sheet of paper. I wish I had that pad in here. It's like an artist's paper. And then on the other side, every time something would pop into my head, I would just put it there. So it was like, oh my gosh, business expenses for taxes. And then that'll just go on the right side to-do list. And those tasks that'll come up that are still things that need to get done, but they're not part of this 12-week year.
I love it. And I love spaces like that where you can kind of accumulate things and that it's safe, like you can stash it. And sometimes I'll have documents, like just very temporary documents or even a portion of my whiteboard for that. And I seem to always title it my radar. Like I need to keep it on my radar, but so that it's not lost, but it's not what I'm actively working on. So as long as I can stash it somewhere, I know it's safe, then I can safely shift my focus over to, whatever I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
So since last time we talked about the visioning process a bit and the importance of the visioning process and the 10-year, 3-year, 1 year, and so on, I finally wrapped it up. And after counting up all the hours, I think I probably put in about 6 to 8 hours into just this process. And there was a lot of stopping and starting, but
oh my gosh, awesome.
Yeah, I kind of sat down and after a little while I could have done a better job of time boxing this, to be honest, but it was nice because these are prompts about my own life and about my own goals. And so if I was sitting there kind of daydreaming, wondering and trying to get some clarity on what it would look like in 1 year or versus 3 years versus 10 years, then I think that's a good investment. I also ended up finishing the first draft, being very proud of myself for actually getting to the last question. And then after the first draft, I just kind of dumped it into an LLM and said, hey, give me some insightful observations. Help me. You're my goal setting coach. Help me. What have I not noticed about this? And it ended up, I like some of the recent updates that have happened to some of the AI engines because they're a lot more, they're less sycophantic, they're less agreeable. They kind of push back more and talk a little bit of trash. And so it went through everything I wrote, much of which was kind of not super well organized. And it really highlighted some things. It was like in this section, you're trying to do too much. That's like the opposite of what the 12-week year is trying to do. How do you have all these personal goals? Why are you trying to hit all of your personal goals in year one? That's a recipe for failure when it comes to the 12-week year. So I guess my takeaway from this is that one, the visioning process was great to actually finish. Two, it ended up taking much longer than expected, but it was a good investment. And three, sending it over to an LLM for feedback, specifically around weak points and kind of areas for improvements, ended up making it a lot more valuable. And so now, after kind of incorporating some of its suggestions and some of its feedback, I feel like that is done, and it's a really useful artifact for creating the plan.
So I didn't know that I could use ChatGPT, which is my go-to AI, for this visioning part because what would it know about my future vision, right? So I started out with the plan itself. Help me come up with a list of tactics in order to reach this particular goal. And then under the framework of, the 12-week year book, help me using the terms from the book help me come up with lists of things. And after going through that process, just for fun, I was like, okay, what's my vision? you know, knowing knowing what you know about me and what you just came up with, give me what the vision is. And I said this needs to be like sensory driven. So make sure you touch on all the things we talked about last time, see it, smell it, taste it, touch it, feel it. And it really did generate from light filtering through the Texas windows. That's a direct quote from ChatGPT. While my steaming cup of coffee sitting next to my journal, and I was like, easy, I can just change that coffee to tea, right? Or I was like, okay, it said filtering through, oh, it said wide Texas windows, and I'm like, well, they're actually floor to ceiling Texas windows in my imagination. And so, all right, so this is, so I just made these little shifts. And I was really impressed. It was really helpful just in getting it started. The other takeaway from the vision part was it didn't take as long as I thought. After having ChatGPT kind of kick it off for me and get the creative juices flowing, it took less than an hour to actually type up the vision, which ended up being completely different than the AI generated one. It ended up being much longer and it covered more topics. But the way that it was so specific and created a scene, I was like, it was easier for me to create a scene, continue that scene, and then it was more like, what does a perfect day look like? And so that's what it is. I'm taking a snapshot of what my day looks like, top to bottom, 3 years from today, after I've achieved this goal.
That is fascinating. And I think I might even do another pass at this because even though I love the content that I put in there and the effort I put in there, the actual vision that I wrote is not necessarily a really compelling scene, like you were describing. It's filled with content that's true to who I am and what I want. But I do love the actual idea of a multisensory like vision that and solve the problem or at least address the problem or yeah, solve the problem of the blank page by having it
Yes.
generate some stuff and doing a pretty good job, just full of assumptions, full of guesses. You can look at that and say, okay, you can contrast what you actually want versus what it put. And it actually ends up helping you to clarify what you do want. I don't want it's kind of like if someone asks you what you want to eat and it's like, I'm up for anything. And it's like, how about pizza? And they're like, not pizza. So it becomes pretty clear once you have something, like what kind of car do you want? Do you want a yellow convertible? No, nothing like that.
It was much better on the personal visioning than on the professional visioning because it, for some reason, as much as this app knows about me, it doesn't know where I want to take this company. I want to share part of mine because it was so specific. Towards the end of that perfect day, it was like we're we're the luckiest parents. John and I take turns reading two books to our baby and say goodnight as we head out to dinner with our longtime friends we have a great relationship with. The nanny stays home with the baby while we're doing that. We take them some fresh produce from our garden. We're driving this specific car and it keeps road noise out so that we can really tune in and tap into the sound system, the music that we like, and then the kinds of things that we talk about.
I like that. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well done. Yeah, I think it does a pretty good job with the personal stuff. I found it helpful. I actually got a new little device in the mail. I decided to order it. It's this personal recorder, and it's a little pin. I'm surprised I don't have it on right now, but it's a little pin, and it's almost like a Star Trek communicator. It's like a pin where if you hold it for a couple seconds, it'll start recording. You can just start recording from your voice and dictating without pulling out your phone, and it'll record for, minutes or hours if you let it. And then once you stop it from recording, it'll sync up with the app on your phone, and you can either just listen to the transcript or send it over to AI, and it'll transcribe the whole thing and make a mind map for you and make a summary and do all this other stuff. And so I actually used that during the visioning process. I was just walking around the park, talking to this little pin, people looking at me like I'm crazy because I didn't actually have headphones in at the time. So I'm just talking to my own hand as I held this thing. And, least insane guy in the park that day. And it actually ended up great because I knew that I could babble all this into a raw transcript. It didn't necessarily have to be organized. And then AI could organize it for me. And then I can join it with the rest of my info and keep it organized. So it's really helping. It's really making the creative capture process a lot easier and the organization process a lot easier. In my opinion, some of the best possible uses for these tools is to help get what's inside of us out and help us organize it and really bring some structure and make it more useful. Yeah.
Yes, it's a new world out there.
We went from vision and now it's to the plan. And so a big part of that was actually choosing from the vision. So I'd love to share a little bit about what mine is. My main professional goal is to develop a mobile app in the personal development space. I've been kicking around kind of literally dozens of ideas in this realm for a while. And so as I was going through the visioning process and as I got feedback from the LLM, it was telling me basically in effect in a very formal tone, bro, you need to just pick one and do it because you're going to learn so much from picking one and kind of taking it from conception to completion that that's going to set the tone for if you end up creating the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. So I love also that the LLM, as I asked for feedback, I asked for it to phrase my goal in different ways that hit different emotional tones. So it might appeal to me different or it might motivate me slightly different. One of them was just very dry and technical, like you will accomplish this by this date. The other one was very aspirational. Another one was more oriented towards my identity. And so the one I ended up choosing was called I Ship. That's the title, I Ship. I become someone who ships. No more endless ideation or perfect planning. I take one idea all the way through to 1,000 paying users, proving to myself and the market that I can execute. And I've chosen that I actually want to make a 12-week year companion app as the very first app to build.
Awesome.
And so it seems relevant and it's something I'm passionate about and something I can personally use. And so, yeah, that's the scope of the goal for this quarter.
So good. And look at how specific and measurable that is. 1,000 users, right? And shipping. Oh my gosh, so different than before. I mean, both of us, we spent a lot of time learning, researching. I'm going to study the front end of this so hard. One of the takeaways I had from using ChatGPT was that it gave high achiever optimization tactics. So it fleshed out a 12-week year goal. And then it was like, but just in case, let me throw out these extra bonus things for you. One of those is front load execution. Get 70% of the task done in the first 8 weeks. And then you tweak, course correct in the last, 4 weeks. And so I like what you said about ship because it's what we were talking about with that lean startup book, which is get it out, get the MVP out, and then start correcting from there. But at least you have a product. So you've shipped and now you're starting to get the feedback. You're starting to get the 4-star reviews that, tell you what to change to get it to a 5-star review. So that's awesome. Okay. So for mine, my goal was simple because it's a project that's already in progress. And it's just a matter of bringing it in for a landing because this is another thing where the idea part and the perfection part has been taking me over a year to get done. So the important part about that visioning process is the emotional connection that makes you committed to getting the goal done. And so now seeing it, the why of why do I need this completed in this amount of time? Why have I set this in front of myself as more important than any other task on that to-do list that I need to get done this year? Is this something that on my deathbed, 100 years from now, am I going to look back and feel regret if I didn't finish? Yes, I would definitely feel regret if I don't finish this. The technological environment around us has influenced our goal setting for sure. But my goal similarly is to develop an online product. And so it's a digital product. And now I'm looking at it from the tech side instead of just the legal side or the real estate investor side. It's how can I develop an actual product that's AI powered that will help others similarly situated. And when you and I were talking last week, I thought I should already be done with this. I was just being super hard on myself. All right, then I should fast forward and it really shouldn't take me 12 weeks and this and that. But then I thought, okay, this whole book is about the annualized thinking. So let me think where I would be 12 months from today. And then that's what we're going to squeeze in. So I actually was thinking about October 2026. Where do I want to be? Which is $12,000 in income because I want $1,000 per month generated from this product. And so that is easy to extrapolate and put into a 12-week year process. So now by the end of this quarter, my target and what I'm committed to achieving is earning $12,000 from the legal products, which means in order to get income, the product has to be fully developed, online, marketed, and sold to real people.
I love the way that you put that, and that the focus is on, something that's real, not just thinking of it, not just conceiving of it, or even building out a version, but then keeping it all to yourself. It's like building it and selling it, making sure to get that validation that people need this and that they're willing to pay you on whatever your billing model is.
You sent me this business outline of the book, which was super helpful. And I noticed that timing myself to complete each of the action items was really key to getting me to finish them, because otherwise it was like start, stop, start, interrupt, start, get distracted. And when I set the timer and it was like, okay, then I finished reading through it, taking all my notes and everything in 18 minutes. Otherwise, it was day 4 and I hadn't finished the outline that you sent me. When I set the timer, I'm like, oh my goodness, that only took 18 minutes to finish. And then there were really good nuggets that came out of reading it. Specifically with vision, it's about supporting your commitment using that emotion. And then with setting out these tactics and getting everything done, I totally forgot the whole purpose of this book and the whole purpose of strategies. This book is to give steps that will lead to increased results, lower stress, and higher confidence. And it's so basic, but I forgot that. It is to build confidence.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it is to reduce your stress, because if you just kind of have this goal lingering in the background for weeks, months, years, and it's not getting accomplished, that does not do well for your stress and for your confidence. But as you knock things out, then it does start to build in that direction. So I really appreciated that, the guide that you sent, and thank you, so that I didn't have to reread the book, but it was like all the good nuggets were right there.
And I like that it seems it almost sets up like a framework or an architecture for success, because maybe it's useful to think of what would happen to our goal if we were lacking any of these parts. Let's say the three major parts are, the vision, the goal itself for this quarter or this 12-week year, and then the plan. What would happen if we took out the vision? Well, then we might make a goal that kind of goes nowhere, means nothing, or it doesn't, like when it gets hard, we don't feel anything. We're like, no, I'm just going to bail. This is not actually important. So maybe that's what it feels like when the vision's missing. What if the goal itself is missing or poorly implemented? Well, then we're squirreling around our efforts in a bunch of different activities that aren't focused, and we can't tell if we succeeded or not. And so we work hard, but we don't move anywhere. What happens if we don't have a plan? Well, then the goal, as ambitious as it might be, or as important as it might be, very quickly begins to feel overwhelming. It's one big thing. It's trying to eat a steak in one bite kind of a thing. And it feels overwhelming. It's like, I can never get there. You can, if it's in a plan, if it's kind of cut up into pieces. And then the individual pieces, because a lot of them involve moving outside of our comfort zone. If the pieces are small enough, then an individual incremental step isn't so large that it triggers our fear response or triggers our sense of discomfort or something. It's like, oh, okay, I can email one person or, one person or 5 prospects or something like that. I can do that. That's not overwhelming. But if I think of a whole project where it's like, oh, I have to go do advanced market research and interview all the people. If I thought of that as one big step, it might feel overwhelming. If it's part of a plan and each one is like kind of small, then no individual piece can overwhelm me or trigger my fear responses.
Absolutely. And parallel to that, the whole time is the mindset part. The book tells us that it's one of those things that's simple, but it's not easy to actually execute. So the plan itself seems like, okay, this is totally doable. The book takes the time to walk you through the emotional experiences that you'll be having. So for one example, when the book talks about informed pessimism as one of the phases that you go through, it reminded me of prior 12-week years where you start with, okay, I'm super hyped about this. I'm totally optimistic because you're uninformed about it. But then once you get in a couple weeks, you're like, okay, I know a little more. And now this is doom and gloom. I'm feeling like I can't overcome this. I have all these very legitimate excuses as to why I can't get it done. And so the book is telling you in advance, you're going to go through these emotions as you're going through it. So be prepared in terms of mindset. And this is why you have that vision to refer back. And this is why you have the plan. So you know, okay, if I don't get this week done, the next week doesn't get done. So just in terms of what you were saying with the plan is set out, the structure is there. We need step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in order. We also need that emotional connection and that mindset throughout to keep us on track. And in hindsight, I spent a lot of time in optimism and pessimism, but then once the goal was achieved or when some of the actions, like keystone actions, were achieved, I wasn't fully feeling the success, the fulfillment, the things that would propel me forward. It was kind of like, okay, I actually checked off 85% this week. Oh, big whoop. And then not giving myself enough of an acknowledgement.
You were talking about reviewing the biz summaries, summary of the 12-week year book, and kind of stopping and starting and stopping and starting, but then you wrote it down, and having that in front of you helped keep you there until it was done. I ran into the same issue, and I am just notorious for being restless. If I'm sitting here and I'm not engaged, I will get up and start pacing around the room. And I'm like, why am I walking around my house? I was checking my email. How did I get in my other room? How am I tinkering with something in the kitchen? And yeah, I'll look for kind of a new location. And so I was like, okay, staying engaged is actually often a challenge. So I ended up coming up with a little bit of an invention, and I call it the quest card. So I'm going to show you, the big reveal right here. So I started out with an index card that I cut in half, and I ended up drawing a little card. Okay. And I just made a little layout, and I tried to make it almost like a card for a Magic the Gathering or Pokemon card. And it has the title of the task at the top, and then a description, and then I drew a little icon, like how much time I estimated it was going to take, and so on. And so I just made these little slots, and I thought this might be fun. And I used this, and it was incredibly effective for me. I've only used it for 2 days now. But the fact that I wrote in an estimate, like, it's almost like a bet. And so I'm kind of like using my ego a little bit here. I think I can finish this in 20 minutes. So I put 20 minutes before I started, right? And then I started, and I had to write down what time I started. I started at 2:15 p.m. And then all of a sudden, that's on my desk. And I know that, it's not watching me, but I know that the time is moving. And so I proceeded to be completely focused on what I was doing because I really wanted to do it within 20 minutes. So that worked. And so for 2 days, I worked with the written version, which I just showed you. And then last night, I ended up getting opening up a graphics program, and I just got a color laser printer and a paper cutter. So I must have known that I was going to be doing some crafts, and I created this little thing. And so I created these little blanks where you can kind of like fill it in, and I printed up, I don't know, like 8 of them. And so, I'm not going to do this with every item on my checklist, like an item that takes 5 minutes, but for the important tasks of the day, especially the important strategic tasks for the 12-week year, I'm going to put that in. I'm going to fill it in. And it's got little icons at the top for, how valuable is this? There's like a little jewel icon. There's like a little eyeball icon. Like, how much focus is this going to take? Oh, I think this is going to take 3 focus. And how much strength is this going to take? So, anyway, this is my first draft of the printed version, but I'm actually going to use these because it feels like it's a quest, and it feels like I'm doing the thing, and no matter how hard it is, I just need to finish this quest. And so just wanted to share that was I was experiencing something similar, and having something written down on the desk, and even something about me betting, or at least claiming that I can finish it in a certain amount of time, seemed to engage me because I think I can do better than even my own estimates. And so I would stay with it until it finished. And so just thought I'd offer that up.
You are your own competitor, right? You're not comparing
Yes.
yourself to other people. You're literally saying, I think I can do this in 20 minutes. And then you come in under the mark at 19 minutes. Like, hey, it was so easy once I got started. But that is so cool because it's not just your own quest, like you gamified it, but that I can actually see you will translate this into your 12-week year goal, which is developing the app, right? Obviously, this is the paper version. I thought that's what you were going to say, like, oh, and then I went into a programming app and then look, I'm already done, with this week's Keystone action item. But just, I mean, I think it speaks to how much excitement and energy there is at the beginning of this process for sure. Because I came into this week the same way. I was super excited to come onto our conversation and our accountability check-in as we kick this off. I'm amped, okay? As I'm looking at the 12 weeks ahead, I'm developing the plan. I felt myself getting a little nervous at first. And I love that. Like, I love that nervous feeling because it reminds me, like that feeling before you get up on a stage to speak. I love that excitement feeling because to me, that nervousness means I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
So I love the excitement, the energy that you're bringing at the top of this. And I need some of those cards as well.
Nice. Yes, I will print some, cut some, and ship them to you. And I'll use heavier cardstock. Okay, so what are we doing differently this time? How does this feel different from previous 12-week year incarnations? Like a
AI.
lot of yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, let's jump right in. What about that?
It's totally expediting the process. Like you said, it's not a blank page anymore. I mean, it's giving me a running start for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great one. And it really keeps hitting home runs in every place that I try to apply it. But it is something like a coach, something like a creative partner, something like a co-pilot, and also a project manager and planner. It's really good at planning, and it has infinite patience with me. And so if its plan has something wrong, I'm like, add a little bit more of this, a little bit less of this. And it's like, say no more. And it just prints out another version, and it's phenomenal.
And yet, if we don't do any of the action items that it suggests that we do or helps us develop, then our goal still will not be met.
Yeah.
So unfortunately or fortunately for the human, race, um, if we can't just push a button and then AI is like, look, now you generated $12,000 by your deadline.
Yeah.
It still is a list of tasks that we personally need to execute upon and complete to get done. So I like that we're not completely replacing ourselves. I think that AI helps us move along the process faster and get to the meat of it, which is doing the goal. Either
Yeah.
you can have it make the plan for you and actually do it, or you can have it make the plan for you and it just sits there. But at the end of the day, AI is not doing it for you. AI is not attacking your goals for you. And it's not even making your plan for you and pulling you through it. It's not your actual coach. You have to go in and still self-motivate. I still have to make myself physically and mentally complete these tasks so that I can move on to the next one and ultimately hit the target.
Yeah, there's that online offline gap between, the best of intentions and whatever it can write in a document, the perfect business plan, the perfect
Right.
workout plan, etc. But then we're training ourselves to apply ourselves towards the plan and hold ourselves accountable. And at a certain point, if that's the skill that we're increasing, if that's the infinite game that we're playing, like we're getting better at the game of all games, no matter what the situation is, we can generate a plan and we can attack step one, whatever step one is, or we can attack the next step, whatever the next step is.
So specifically when I was developing my plan and the tactics that need to be completed, the weekly items, part of my goal and part of this product that I'm developing has a custom GPT aspect. So it's AI powered and I need to produce a custom GPT. Well, who better to tell me how that process is done than actual GPT? So I learned, all right, this is the best way to talk to the system. These are the best prompts to give. I'm not tech, right? Like I don't have a tech background. And so even when I talk about it, it's kind of hard for me to express and explain what I mean. And I'm realizing that's one of the hurdles between talking to the designer, right? The developer who's putting this together on the website for me. And so I asked ChatGPT, put this in plain language, help me, who is a layperson, understand easily and break it down. So when we are talking about developing a prompt, don't just say developing a prompt, be specific. And it broke it down to where I know what my keystone actions are because it's about that style, tone, the system, the all kinds of terms, okay, that you can imagine because you are a tech person, so you probably do know how these systems communicate to each other and if you have modules and this and that. So I know now specifically what I need to do, what I need to call it, and I wouldn't have come up with that in 5 seconds like ChatGPT did.
Yeah, I love that.